Captain Veltar pressed his thin fingers against the control panel as another violent shake rocked the crystalline ship. The Harmony's grace was dying around him, and he could feel every crack spreading through its beautiful transparent hull. What had started as a simple research mission to study an empty star system had become a nightmare. The planet below them was a monster. Dense clouds swirled in massive storms that could swallow entire moons. Lightning flashed constantly through the thick atmosphere. The gravity readings were so high that most species would be crushed flat, just trying to land. Veltar had seen many worlds in his long career, but this one was pure death. No thinking being could possibly survive on such a horrible place. His communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Kess, looked up from her station with fear in her large eyes. "Captain, the main power core is failing. We have maybe 6 hours before complete system failure." Veltar's crew was small. Only 12 researchers and scientists who had volunteered for what should have been a peaceful survey mission. They studied dead worlds and empty space, looking for new resources and safe places for their people to expand. They were not explorers or warriors. They were gentle beings from gentle worlds who had never faced real danger. "Can we repair the damage?" Veltar asked, though he already knew the answer. Engineer Toff shook his head sadly. "The earthquake damaged too many systems. The ship's crystal matrix is cracked in 17 places. We would need a full repair facility and at least 3 months of work." Through the view screen, Veltar could see the terrible world spinning below them. It looked angry, like some great beast waiting to devour anything that came too close. The storms never stopped. The surface was covered in what looked like scars from constant geological violence.
"According to their scans, the air was poison and the temperatures changed wildly from one region to another. Sir," Kess said quietly, "I'm detecting something strange." "What kind of strange?"
Veltar moved to her station. "There are artificial signals coming from the planet's surface. Very faint, but definitely not natural." The captain felt ice in his stomach. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. The patterns are too regular to be natural phenomena. There's definitely some kind of technology down there." The bridge fell silent except for the sound of systems failing and the hull creaking under stress. Everyone understood what this meant. Something lived on that nightmare world, something that had technology and could send signals into space. The Galactic Council had always warned about this possibility. In all their thousands of years of peaceful expansion, they had never encountered what the scientists called Deathworlders. These were theoretical beings that might evolve on harsh, violent planets. The Council's xenobiologists believed such creatures would be aggressive, dangerous, and completely unlike the civilized species that made up their peaceful community. "Captain," said Dr. Helen, the mission's chief scientist, "we should consider all options. Our people have families waiting for us." Veltar stared at the planet. Every instinct told him to stay away from whatever lived down there. But his crew was depending on him. 12 good people who trusted him to get them home safely. "Kess, can you determine what kind of signals they are?" The young communications officer worked at her controls for several minutes. "They appear to be some form of data transmission. Very complex. And, sir, I think some of them might be entertainment broadcasts." "Entertainment?" Veltar was confused. Music, visual programs, things like that. "If these are really Deathworlders, they seem to have culture and art." Engineer Toff spoke up nervously. "That might make them even more dangerous. Smart predators with technology." Another violent shake reminded them all that they were running out of time. The ship's beautiful crystal hull was designed for peaceful research, not survival in crisis situations. It would not last much longer. Veltar made his decision. "Kess, prepare a distress signal." "Sir?" She looked shocked. "If we're going to die anyway, we might as well try. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we are peaceful researchers in need of help." "But Captain," Dr. Helen protested, "what if they're hostile? What if they see our distress as weakness and attack us? Then we die a few hours sooner than we would anyway," Veltar replied grimly. "But if there's even a small chance they might help?" Kess prepared the message with shaking hands. It was simple and direct. They identified themselves as peaceful explorers whose ship was damaged and failing. They asked for help and promised they meant no harm to anyone. "Message ready, sir," Kess reported. "Send it." The signal went out toward the terrible world below. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Kess sat up straight, her eyes wide with surprise. "Captain, we're getting a response." It came very fast. "What does it say?" "Message received." Help is coming. Hold position. The bridge was silent again. The response had come in less than 2 minutes. Whatever lived on that world had not only received their signal, but had understood it and replied in perfect galactic standard language. Kess. Where exactly did that signal come from? She checked her instruments twice before answering. Sir, it came from inside the planet's atmosphere, deep inside the worst storm system we can see. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. Something was living in those terrible storms. Something smart enough to learn their language and confident enough to promise help. Sir, Engineer Toff said quietly, our sensors are picking up movement in the upper atmosphere. Something is coming up from the surface, how many ships? Toff stared at his readings. But I can't tell, sir. The storms are interfering with our scans. But it's big, very big. Through the view screen, they could see lights moving through the swirling clouds. Not 1 or 2 lights, but dozens. Maybe hundreds. Whatever was coming up from that nightmare world was coming in force, Captain. Kess whispered. What have we done? Veltar had no answer. They had called for help from creatures that lived in the heart of a death world. Beings that could survive in conditions that would kill most known species in minutes. And now those beings were coming to them in numbers that suggested this was not just a rescue mission. The lights grew brighter as they approached. Soon they would know what kind of creatures answered distress calls from the depths of hell itself. All stations, prepare for contact, Veltar ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. And may the cosmic harmony protect us all. The shapes were getting closer now, rising through the violent storms like they were nothing more than gentle breezes. Whatever lived on that world was about to change everything for Veltar and his crew. And somewhere deep in his heart, the captain suspected it would change everything for the entire galaxy as well. Dr. Sarah Chen was drinking her morning coffee at Luna Station when the alert came through. She nearly choked on the hot liquid as she read the message on her screen. After 200 years of searching, humanity had finally received a signal from an alien species. This is not a drill, her supervisor announced over the communication system. All first contact personnel report to command immediately. Sarah ran through the corridors of the massive space station that orbited Earth's moon. Luna Station was humanity's primary deep space monitoring facility, equipped with the most advanced listening equipment in human space. They had been hoping for this moment for generations. Admiral Marcus Torres was already in the command center when Sarah arrived. The tall, gray-haired man was studying multiple screens showing data streams and star charts. Around him, dozens of technicians worked frantically to analyze every piece of information from the alien signal. What do we know? Sarah asked as she joined the Admiral. We received a distress call approximately 40 minutes ago, Torres replied without looking away from the screens. Origin point is the Kepler 442 system, about 1,200 light-years from here. The message was broadcast in mathematical concepts that our computers were able to translate. Sarah studied the translation on her screen. It was simple and direct. Peaceful researchers. Ship damaged. Requesting assistance. The message included basic information about their location and the nature of their emergency. They're dying, she said quietly. Yes. And according to our analysis, they have maybe 6 hours before their ship fails completely. Sir, 1,200 light-years. Even our fastest ships would take weeks to reach them. Admiral Torres smiled grimly. Dr. Chen, you're thinking in terms of normal space travel. We're not going to send one ship to help them. Sarah looked confused. Sir, we're sending the entire Third Fleet. The Third Fleet was humanity's newest and most advanced space force. 37 ships ranging from massive carriers to small scout vessels, all equipped with the latest jump drive technology. It was designed for long-range exploration and had never been used for a real emergency. Admiral, isn't that excessive for a simple rescue mission? Sarah asked. Torres turned to face her, his expression serious. Dr. Chen, this is first contact with an alien species. We have no idea what we're going to find when we get there. For all we know, this could be a trap, or there could be hostile forces in the area. Human protocol is clear. When facing unknown situations involving civilian lives, we respond with overwhelming force. Sarah had studied human military doctrine extensively. Humans had learned hard lessons during their expansion into space. Pirates, equipment failures, natural disasters, and unexpected dangers had taught them that it was better to bring too much help than too little. Besides, Torres continued, according to the signal's origin point, these aliens are stranded near a Class M death world. Anything could go wrong. Class M death world? High gravity, violent weather, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperatures. The kind of planet we'd classify as barely habitable with full environmental suits. Sarah nodded. Earth was considered a garden world by human standards, but she knew that many of humanity's colony worlds were much harsher. Humans had learned to live in environments that would challenge even their advanced technology. How long until the fleet is ready? She asked. They launched 20 minutes ago. Sarah stared at the Admiral. 20 minutes? How is that possible? The Third Fleet was already on maneuvers near the edge of human space. When the alert came through, they immediately changed course for the target system. They should arrive in approximately 8 hours, but the aliens said they only had 6 hours before their ship failed. That's why we responded so quickly, and why we're bringing everything we have. On the main view screen, Sarah could see the fleet's progress. 37 ships moving in perfect formation through hyperspace, racing toward a star system that no human had ever visited to save people they had never met. Sir, have you considered how this might look to the aliens? A massive military fleet appearing in response to a simple distress call. Torres paused. How do you mean? Well, if someone sent a distress call on Earth and 37 alien warships showed up in response, we might be a little concerned about their intentions. The Admiral considered this. Dr. Chen, these people are about to die. I'm not going to send one ship and hope for the best when we can send enough help to handle any situation. If they're worried about our intentions, we'll explain them. Sarah understood the logic, but she also understood human nature. Humans were naturally suspicious and cautious. If aliens had responded to a human distress call with a massive fleet, there would be panic and fear. But perhaps other species would react differently. What do we know about their technology? She asked. Preliminary analysis suggests they're roughly equivalent to human technology from about 50 years ago. Slower than light communication, but sophisticated enough for interstellar travel. Their ship appears to be damaged by some kind of geological event. Geological event? The planet they're orbiting shows signs of major seismic activity. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, that sort of thing. It looks like they were studying the planet when something went wrong. Sarah thought about this. The aliens had been doing scientific research near a dangerous world when disaster struck. They were explorers and scientists just like many humans. That was encouraging. Sir, we should prepare first contact protocols. This is going to be the most important conversation in human history. Already done. You'll be leading the first contact team, Dr. Chen. Your expertise in xenolinguistics and cultural analysis makes you the obvious choice. Sarah felt a mixture of excitement and terror. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, but the reality was overwhelming. In a few hours, she would be the first human to have a real conversation with an alien being. What are our objectives? Primary objective is to rescue the aliens and get them to safety. Secondary objective is to establish peaceful relations and gather information about their species and their civilization. Tertiary objective is to avoid any actions that might be interpreted as hostile or threatening. And if they're hostile, then we have 37 ships full of people who are very good at protecting themselves and others. Sarah spent the next several hours reviewing everything humanity knew about interspecies communication theory. She studied the alien message structure, looking for clues about their language and thought patterns. She prepared translation protocols and cultural sensitivity guidelines. Most importantly, she tried to imagine how these aliens might react when they saw the human fleet approaching. Torres was right that human doctrine called for overwhelming response to emergencies. But that doctrine had been developed for dealing with other humans. Aliens might not understand the concept of better safe than sorry. Dr. Chen, Torres called her over to the main screen. We're getting telemetry from the fleet. They've dropped out of hyperspace in the target system. Sarah watched as data flowed across the screen. The Third Fleet had arrived exactly on schedule, and their sensors were already scanning the area around the alien ship. Sir, Fleet Command is reporting contact with the alien vessel. The ship appears to be badly damaged but still intact. They're detecting life signs. Any response from the aliens? Not yet, sir. But our arrival probably came as quite a shock. Sarah could only imagine. The aliens had sent a distress call into what they thought was empty space. Instead of silence or maybe one rescue ship, they had received 37 human vessels appearing in their system like something from their worst nightmares. Sir, the communications officer announced, Fleet Command is requesting permission to begin rescue operations. Tell them to proceed with caution, Torres ordered. And Dr. Chen, get ready. You're about to make history. Commander Lisa Rodriguez stepped through the airlock and into the alien ship. Her environmental suit felt bulky and unnecessary, but first contact protocols required full protection until they understood alien biology. Behind her, 2 engineers carried repair equipment that looked primitive compared to the beautiful crystalline technology of the alien vessel. The alien captain was waiting for them in what appeared to be the ship's main corridor. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His movements were graceful and careful, like someone who had never needed to move quickly or forcefully in his entire life. "I am Captain Veltar of the research vessel Harmony's Grace," he said in perfectly translated Galactic Standard. "We are grateful for your assistance." Lisa removed her helmet, following protocols that Dr. Chen had established during their approach. "I'm Commander Rodriguez of the UES Wellington. We're here to help." The alien's eyes widened when he saw her face. "You remove your protective equipment? Is our atmosphere not dangerous to your species?" "Your air is fine for us," Lisa replied. "Maybe a little thin, but nothing we can't handle." "Our scans showed it was safe." Veltar looked confused. "But you came from the surface of the 3rd planet. How is that possible?" "What do you mean?" "The planet below us. It's a death world. No intelligent species could survive there." Lisa glanced at her engineers, who were trying not to smile. "Captain, that's not a death world. That's just a standard terrestrial planet. We call it a garden world." The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Veltar stared at her like she had just claimed to breathe vacuum. "Commander Rodriguez," he said carefully, "the planet below has gravity that would crush most species. The atmosphere is highly corrosive. The weather patterns include storms that could destroy cities. The geological activity is constant and violent. It does have a bit more gravity than some worlds," Lisa admitted. "And yes, the weather can be rough. But nothing our people can't handle with basic equipment." "Basic equipment?" "Standard environmental suits for the storms, gravity adjustment for species that need it, that sort of thing. Most of our colony worlds are similar to this one." Veltar's legs seemed to give out slightly, and he leaned against the crystal wall of his ship. "You live on worlds like this?" "Voluntarily." "Captain, Earth has higher gravity than this planet. Our homeworld has weather that makes these storms look gentle. We've terraformed dozens of worlds that are much harsher than what you call a death world." The alien captain was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "What do you call yourselves?" "Humans. We're from the Sol system, about 1,200 light years from here." "Humans," Veltar repeated slowly.
"And you answered our distress call?"
"Of course. No one should die alone in space when help is available." Over the next few hours, as Lisa's engineers worked to repair the alien ship, she learned about Veltar's people. The Zephyrians were part of something called the Galactic Council, a peaceful alliance of species that had been exploring space for thousands of years. They were scientists and philosophers who had built a civilization based on cooperation and harmony. "We have never encountered violence between species," Veltar explained as they watched the human engineers work. "Conflict is resolved through discussion and compromise. We share resources and knowledge freely." "That sounds wonderful," Lisa said, and she meant it. "How many species are part of your council?" 47 confirmed members, with 12 more in the application process. All of them peaceful, all committed to the greater good. Lisa was impressed. Humanity had dreamed of finding such a civilization for generations. A peaceful galactic community that welcomed new members and shared knowledge freely sounded like paradise. "Tell me about your terraforming," Veltar requested. "How do you make death worlds habitable?" "Well, it depends on the planet," Lisa explained. "Sometimes we need to adjust the atmosphere, usually by introducing bacterial colonies that can process the existing gases and create something breathable. For high-gravity worlds, we might need to reduce the planetary mass through controlled asteroid impacts." Veltar's face went pale. "You impact asteroids into planets?" "Only when necessary, and very carefully. We model everything extensively first. And the bacterial colonies. Oh, those are great. We've developed some really aggressive strains that can transform an atmosphere in just a few decades. They're incredibly hardy and can survive in almost any environment." The alien captain was staring at her with what Lisa was beginning to recognize as horror. "You introduce aggressive organisms into planetary ecosystems?" "Sure. How else would you change the atmosphere?" We don't change atmospheres. We find planets that are already suitable for our biology." Lisa thought about this. But that must limit your expansion severely. How do you colonize new systems? We search for worlds that match our requirements. It sometimes takes many years to find suitable planets. That seems inefficient. Humans just take whatever planet is available and make it work. Engineer Martinez looked up from his repair work. Commander, you should show him the pictures from New Terra. What's New Terra? Veltar asked. Lisa pulled up images on her tablet. One of our newer colonies. It used to be a frozen ice world with no atmosphere. We gave it weather, oceans, and breathable air. The pictures showed a world transformation that looked like magic to Veltar. Barren ice became green forests. Dead rock became fertile soil. Empty skies filled with clouds and life. How long did this take? He asked quietly. About 30 years for the basic transformation. Another 20 to get the ecology stable. You created an entire world ecosystem in 50 years? It's not that impressive. The colony on Hades took almost 80 years. But that was a really difficult project. The planet was tidally locked and had sulfur rain. Veltar sat down heavily in one of his ship's delicate chairs. Commander Rodriguez, I need to ask you something, and please answer honestly. Of course, how many worlds do humans control? Lisa thought about it. Active colonies? About 200. But we have terraforming projects on maybe 400 more. And there are the mining worlds, research stations, deep space facilities. Probably close to 1,000 total human installations. 1,000 worlds, Veltar repeated. Give or take. Humanity has been expanding for about 300 years. And all of these are on worlds that we would consider uninhabitable? Most of them, yes. We prefer worlds with some challenges. Keeps us sharp, Engineer Martinez spoke up again. Sir, you should tell him about the recreation worlds. What are recreation worlds? Veltar asked with obvious fear. Places humans go for fun, Lisa explained. Extreme sports, adventure tourism, that sort of thing. There's one planet where people go ice climbing on glaciers that are constantly collapsing. Another where you can surf lava flows. Very popular with young people. Veltar's face had gone from pale blue to almost white. You surf on molten rock? For entertainment? It's perfectly safe if you use the right equipment. The suits can handle temperatures up to 3,000 degrees. And people do this voluntarily? There's usually a waiting list. The alien captain stood up slowly and walked to a communication panel. Commander Rodriguez, I need to contact my government. This changes everything. Is there a problem? Veltar looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. Commander, for thousands of years, the Galactic Council has feared the theoretical possibility of encountering what we call Deathworlders. Aggressive species that evolved on harsh planets and spread through space using violence and conquest. Lisa felt a chill. And? You match every single characteristic we have identified for such a species. You live on death worlds. You transform entire planets to suit your needs. You have advanced military technology and respond to situations with overwhelming force. You engage in dangerous activities for pleasure. But we're peaceful. We came here to help you, I know, and that may be the most terrifying thing of all. Veltar activated his communication system to contact the Galactic Council. Lisa realized that humanity's introduction to galactic civilization was about to become much more complicated than anyone had expected. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's peaceful history. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Crystal Chamber on Harmony Station, their voices creating a symphony of panic and fear. Chancellor Kaithavara, an ancient being from the first species to achieve interstellar travel, tried to maintain order as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Order. Please, honored delegates, we must have order. Kaithavara's translation device broadcast his words in dozens of languages. We are here to discuss the situation regarding the beings who call themselves humans. Ambassador Zarel of the Gentle Tide Confederation stood first. Her crystalline form shimmered with distress colors. Chancellor, my science teams have analyzed the data from Captain Veltar's encounter. These creatures are everything our worst theories predicted about Deathworlders. Please share your findings with the Council. Kaithavara replied. Zarel activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The humans' homeworld, which they call Earth, has gravity 1.3 times the galactic standard. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which is corrosive to most of our technologies. The planet experiences violent weather patterns, including rotating storm systems that can destroy large structures. Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. The delicate ones, a species that required carefully controlled environments, actually fainted at the description. Furthermore, Zrel continued, they consider this nightmare world to be a garden planet suitable for pleasant living. They have terraformed hundreds of worlds that we would classify as uninhabitable. Their expansion rate suggests aggressive territorial behavior. Representative Knoll of the Peaceful Swimmers raised a tentacle. What about their military response? Captain Veltar reported that they sent an entire fleet in response to a simple distress call. 37 warships, Zrel confirmed. This suggests they are prepared for immediate military action at any moment. No peaceful species maintain such rapid response capabilities. The chamber erupted in frightened chatter. The Council had spent thousands of years building a civilization based on trust and cooperation. The idea of species that maintained permanent military fleets was alien to them. Chancellor Kethvara called for quiet again. What do we know about their culture and biology? Dr. Fintal, the Council's leading xenobiologist, stood to address the assembly. His forearms trembled as he accessed his data files. The cultural information is perhaps most disturbing of all. These humans engage in what they call sports and entertainment that involves deliberate physical contact, competition, and even simulated combat. He activated another hologram showing human athletic competitions. The assembled delegates watched in horror as humans deliberately collided with each other, fought for control of objects, and engaged in activities that appeared designed to cause injury. This footage shows humans participating in voluntary combat sports. They strike each other repeatedly for the entertainment of observers. And note the reactions of the audience. They appear to enjoy watching violence. Ambassador Pedalsong of the Harmony Worlds spoke in her musical language. But surely this is ritual behavior, symbolic rather than actual violence. I'm afraid not, Dr. Fintal replied grimly. Medical analysis indicates these activities result in real injuries. Broken bones, torn muscles, brain trauma, and humans continue participating even after being injured. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of several delegates being sick. There's more, Dr. Fintal continued. They consume other living organisms for sustenance, not just plant matter but actual animal flesh. They have industrialized the killing and consumption of other species. Representative Soft Voice of the Nurturing Alliance stood up shakily. They eat other life forms? Regularly. It appears to be their primary method of nutrition. They have developed specialized tools for killing animals and complex processes for preparing their flesh for consumption. The revelation that humans were predators sent another wave of panic through the assembly. The species of the Galactic Council were all evolved from herbivores or filter feeders. The concept of deliberately killing other living things for food was incomprehensible to them. What about their terraforming technology? Asked Council General Wisdom Bearer. Captain Veltar mentioned they deliberately introduce aggressive organisms into planetary ecosystems. Dr. Fintal nodded grimly. They call it bacterial seeding. They create or modify aggressive microscopic life forms and release them into planetary atmospheres. These organisms consume existing atmospheric components and produce new ones. From our perspective, this is biological warfare against entire worlds. And their asteroid impacts? They deliberately destabilize planetary systems by introducing massive objects at high velocity. The energy release from a single such impact could destroy our capital city. They use these impacts to adjust planetary mass and orbital characteristics. Chancellor Kethvara absorbed this information with growing dread. So we are dealing with a species that wages biological and kinetic warfare against planets themselves, treats violence as entertainment, and maintains large military fleets in a constant state of readiness. That appears to be correct, Dr. Fintal confirmed. Ambassador Zrel spoke again. Chancellor, there is one more thing. According to Captain Veltar, they responded to our distress call because, and I quote, "No one should die alone in space when help is available." That sounds peaceful, Kethvara said hopefully. Or it sounds like the behavior of predators protecting their territory, Zrel replied. They may see our distress as weakness and their help as an opportunity to establish dominance. The chamber buzzed with fearful conversation. Representative Gentle Touch of the Caring Assembly stood to speak. Have they made any demands? Asked for anything in return for their assistance? Not yet, Zrel admitted. But this may be their method of establishing trust before revealing their true intentions. What do they want from us? As soft-voiced Dr. Fintal consulted his files. They have offered to share their terraforming technology, provide medical assistance, and establish trade relationships. They seem particularly interested in art, music, and what they call cultural exchange. Cultural exchange, Chancellor Kethvara repeated slowly. What could Deathworlders want with our culture? Perhaps they wish to study us, suggested Ambassador Thriel. To understand our weaknesses before conquest. Or maybe they collect cultures the way some species collect mineral specimens, added Dr. Fintal. Trophies from conquered civilizations. The assembled delegates contemplated this possibility in terrified silence. The humans had appeared in their galaxy like something from their worst nightmares, but instead of immediately conquering them, they were offering help and friendship. To the peaceful council species, this seemed like the behavior of very intelligent predators. Chancellor Kethvara made a decision. I am calling for an emergency military council. We must consider all options for protecting our civilization. Military council? Representative Knoll looked confused. Chancellor, we haven't had need for military planning in over 1,000 years. Then it's time we remembered how, Kethvara replied grimly. If these humans are truly Deathworlders, they may represent the greatest threat our civilization has ever faced. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, their peaceful chatter replaced by urgent whispers about defense and survival, none of them noticed the communication signal arriving from Captain Veltar. He was trying to tell them that they were making a terrible mistake, that the humans were not what they seemed. But the signal was lost in the chaos of a civilization preparing for war against beings who had come to help them. Across the galaxy, peaceful species began dusting off ancient defense protocols and wondering if their thousands of years of harmony were about to come to a violent end. The humans, meanwhile, continued their rescue operations, completely unaware that their every helpful gesture was being interpreted as a threat by the civilization they hoped to join. The greatest misunderstanding in galactic history was spiraling out of control, and nobody knew how to stop it. Captain Veltar stood in the communication chamber of the human ship Wellington, watching in horror as the galaxy prepared for war. The main screen showed defensive fleets moving across dozens of star systems as the Galactic Council mobilized every available ship to face what they believed was an imminent human invasion. Commander Rodriguez, he said urgently, you have to contact your government immediately. The Council is preparing to attack your territory. Lisa looked up from her reports with confusion. Attack us? Why would they do that? Because they think you're going to conquer the galaxy. That's ridiculous. We're explorers and scientists just like you. Veltar gestured at the screen showing human ships efficiently completing the rescue operation. Look at this from their perspective. You sent an entire fleet to rescue 12 researchers. Your people live on worlds that would kill most galactic species. You terraform planets using methods that sound like weapons to us. Those aren't weapons, they're tools. I know that now, but the Council doesn't understand the difference. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had arrived with the second wave of human ships, joined the conversation. Captain Veltar, what would convince your people that we're peaceful? I don't know, Veltar admitted. They're terrified. The Council has spent thousands of years fearing exactly this scenario. What scenario? First contact with Deathworlders, aggressive species from harsh planets who conquer through violence. Sarah and Lisa exchanged glances. We're not aggressive, Sarah said. We came here to help you. Yes, but everything about you matches the profile they created for Deathworlders. You're strong, adaptable, technologically advanced, and you respond to emergencies with overwhelming force. Lisa sighed. So our helpfulness looks like aggression to them. Exactly. On the screen, they could see more Council ships moving into defensive positions. Veltar counted at least 300 vessels, representing the combined peaceful fleet of 47 species. It was an impressive sight, but he knew it would be no match for human military technology if conflict actually occurred. There has to be something we can do, Sarah said. Some way to show them we're not a threat. Veltar thought about his weeks among the humans. He had watched them work tirelessly to repair his ship. He had seen their entertainment programs, their art, their literature. Most importantly, he had observed their behavior when they thought no one was watching. Commander Rodriguez, You showed me your entertainment programs during the repair work. Our movies and television shows? Yes, what would happen if the council could see those? Sarah looked puzzled. I'm not sure I understand. Your disaster movies, Veltar explained excitedly. The stories where humans save other people from earthquakes, floods, alien invasions. Show them what you fantasize about. Lisa caught on first. You mean show them that our entertainment isn't about conquest, it's about rescue? Exactly. And your historical documentaries about rescue operations, the way you respond to natural disasters, the way you help each other, show them what humans actually value. Dr. Chen was already accessing the ship's cultural database. We have thousands of hours of material. Disaster movies, rescue documentaries, news coverage of humanitarian missions. That's perfect, Veltar said. If the council could see that your dreams are about saving people, not conquering them, they might understand. Within hours, Sarah had compiled a comprehensive package of human entertainment and historical records. The collection included disaster movies where humans risked everything to save strangers, documentaries about rescue operations in hostile environments, and news coverage of international cooperation during crises. How do we get this to them? Lisa asked. I'll present it to the council directly, Veltar decided. They'll listen to me because I've actually lived among humans. The emergency communication to the Galactic Council went out immediately. Veltar requested an audience to present new evidence about human nature and intentions. Chancellor Kethvara, desperate for any information that might help them understand their potential enemies, agreed to hear him. The session was broadcast across the galaxy as Veltar stood before the assembled council with his human companions via hologram. The chamber was packed with representatives who had been preparing for the worst war in galactic history. Honored delegates, Veltar began, I have spent weeks living among the humans. I have studied their culture, observed their behavior, and learned about their true nature. We have made a terrible mistake. He activated the cultural database and began showing the assembled delegates human entertainment. The first movie was about astronauts working together to save a damaged space station. The second showed rescue workers risking their lives to save people from a collapsing building. This is what humans dream about, Veltar explained as the delegates watched in fascination. Not conquest or domination, but helping others survive impossible situations. The chamber was silent as they watched documentary footage of human rescue operations. Humans diving into dangerous waters to save drowning strangers. Humans climbing unstable mountains to rescue trapped climbers. Humans flying into storms to evacuate people from disaster zones. They call it their first responder culture, Veltar continued. When disaster strikes, humans run toward the danger to help others escape it. Dr. Chen's hologram addressed the council. Honored delegates, humanity has dreamed of finding galactic civilization for centuries. We've imagined sharing knowledge, exploring the universe together, learning from species with different perspectives than our own. We never imagined being seen as a threat. Chancellor Kethvara spoke carefully. Dr. Chen, your species' capabilities are intimidating to us. Your military response to our distress call seemed overwhelming. Chancellor, imagine if one of your exploration ships was in trouble near a dangerous world. Wouldn't you send everything available to help them? We don't have ships capable of operating in such environments. Exactly. So you would send whatever you had. We sent what we had that could handle the conditions. Veltar stepped forward again. Honored delegates, I present to you the real nature of humanity. They are not conquerors. They are survivors who have chosen to use their survival skills to help others. He showed them more footage. Human children playing games that involved cooperation and teamwork. Human artists creating works that celebrated peace and understanding. Human scientists working together with different cultures to solve problems. Look at their response to natural disasters on their own world, Veltar said, showing footage of international rescue efforts. When earthquakes strike, humans from every nation send help. When floods threaten one region, humans from around the planet provide assistance. This is not the behavior of conquerors. Ambassador Zarel stood slowly. Captain Veltar, if humans are truly peaceful, why do they maintain such powerful military forces? Because they live in dangerous environments, Veltar replied. Their military exists to protect people and provide disaster relief. They told me their motto, no one dies alone in the dark. This is not a threat. It's a promise to help anyone who needs it. The chamber was quiet as the delegates absorbed this information. Slowly, Representative Soft Voice spoke. Are we the first species they've encountered? Dr. Chen nodded. You are. We've been hoping to meet other civilizations for generations. And your first action upon meeting us was to save our research team? Of course. What else would we do? Chancellor Kethavara stood and addressed the assembly. Delegates, I believe we have made a grave error in judgment. These beings came to us in peace, offering help, and we responded with fear and preparations for war. Over the following hours, the Council voted to stand down their defensive fleets and formally welcome humanity into galactic civilization. The vote was unanimous, though many delegates later admitted they were still somewhat intimidated by human capabilities. The final agreement established humanity as the galaxy's official emergency response force. When disasters struck, when rescue operations were needed in dangerous environments, when someone needed help in the worst possible conditions, humans would be the first called. In return, the galactic community offered what humans had always craved: knowledge, art, philosophy, and proof that intelligence could thrive through cooperation rather than competition. 6 months later, Admiral Torres stood on the observation deck of humanity's new embassy station in Council space, watching human and alien ships working together to evacuate a colony threatened by solar flares. The operation was proceeding smoothly, with human ships handling the dangerous close approaches to the star, while alien vessels provided medical care and temporary housing for the refugees. Dr. Chen joined him at the viewport. Any regrets about how first contact went? Torres smiled. None at all. Though I have to admit, it never occurred to me that our biggest diplomatic challenge would be convincing people we weren't planning to invade them. Well, at least now they understand that when humans say we're here to help, we actually mean it. True. And they've learned that sometimes the scariest thing in the galaxy is someone who's genuinely trying to save your life. On the screen below them, another human ship launched toward the dangerous solar storm, its crew volunteering to risk their lives to save strangers from across the galaxy.